Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, flood barrier price made homeowners speechless. Whoa, I'm really shocked. I was shocked. That is the first episode of some parts, and I thought it's quite interesting for everybody to hear a little bit what happened, and especially, the price is something very important, of course, for everybody who wants to purchase whatever it is. And when it comes to flood protection, people normally don't know exactly, how much does it cost? Can I afford it? Is it too much? Is it too low, the price? And I want to share you a story of Anthony today, and in this first episode of this small series. And Anthony is a homeowner from the Philippines, and he was indeed shocked about a quotation he received. And what was the reason? So I want to share it with you. And perhaps you were in a similar situation, not only for flood protection, but perhaps for some other improvements at your house, at your building. The big question was, in this case, because Anthony wanted to protect his house, why were the barriers too expensive? So it was some weeks ago that I received an email, and that was indeed this homeowner Anthony from the Philippines. And I changed the name. I don't want to blame anybody. Of course, I don't mention the real names unless it is okay. But let's protect this family. So Anthony is a family father. He has 2 children. That's true, and a wife. And with them are the grandparents who live from the women's side. They live together in one big house. And in the Philippines, in the Metro Manila metropolitan area. And Anthony wanted to get a quotation to protect his house from the danger of floods. So far, so good. And one of my flood experts asked the usual questions, and it came out that the customer already asked another supplier for such a quotation. Well, that is what, of course, you never like when you supply something. But to be honest, that's a normal thing, huh? And we all do. So in our private life, I also compare the prices, huh? And to be honest, you also do. In case you want to buy a car, you compare the prices. You go to one supplier, and then you go to the next, and you distinguish the prices, perhaps a second-hand one. Or you look here, you look around a little bit. That's what we're doing. I think only the women don't do that when they go for some new shoes or some handbags, right? All women out there? Is that something what is true? I don't know exactly, but sometimes I think about it. However, also for the men, they also turn off their brain sometimes, especially when it comes to cars or motorbikes or something special. I know many of them who don't think about it, but they only say I need this fancy sports car because it is so sensational good, and the noise of the engine and the acceleration is so fast. Yes, but at the end it brings you from A to B. Yeah? So logically, you don't need it. You want it because of some fancy elements, etc. So men are also similar to that. Okay, are you good with me again, dear women, female followers out there? Then it's okay. Yeah. So, but way back to the flood protection. Immediately, of course, we were asking him, why are you still asking us? Because you are in touch with another supplier already. What happened? And the answer did not really surprise us. He said, "Oh, I got a quotation," Anthony said, and it looked cheap for the barriers. So then they went on with the project, and suddenly additional costs arise here and there, everywhere, he said. At the end, the prices almost tripled. I was immediately thinking about what first shall be protected. Please tell me. And then he said, yeah, good that you asked. Because to be honest, now I understand. I never really discussed my project with my supplier first. So he was blinded by a cheap price for these flood protection barriers and was not thinking about the other things. So which parts can be considered first when it comes to a house? Let's stay with a private house because unless you live in a condominium, then let's stay, house is okay, because we all live in houses, in buildings. So what can be protected? So the house itself, so the building, the garage, what also is a part of building. Yeah? I don't consider a car park, an open car park, or carport, not car park, carport, as a garage. A garage for me is something what is closed. At least 3 sides are closed, and normally the front side also is closed by a gate or a roller shutter. Sometimes it's open, but then it's easy to protect with flood barriers. And number 3 is the garden, so the whole lot that can be protected. And all these things were not really clear when Anthony got his first quotation from a third-party supplier. And that was the moment the customer said to his previous supplier, "Are you crazy? I'm speechless about the price. You told me something else at the beginning." And I explained to Anthony that I'm used to working with no surprise budgets. And then he asked me, "What is that?" I answered to him, "Look, Anthony, we run through all relevant parts and then you get the whole picture. Then you can decide what you do and what you skip. Is that fair enough?" He said, "Yeah, sounds pretty good." I said, "Okay, but that requires that you work with me." So we developed the whole thing. Imagine what can play a part. So of course you ask for flood barriers. But there are different flood barriers, portable barriers, doors, gates, automatic systems, permanent glass walls. Then did you ever discuss the anchoring system? He said, "Not at the beginning, but later on, yes." Then suddenly the prices increased. I said, "Yes, because of the foundation. You forgot, or the supplier forgot to tell you. But perhaps he did and you didn't listen." He said, "Yeah, can be. I was focused on this price only." Then storage system for portable units, accessories for safety units, alarm systems for automatic flood barriers. And then one last thing, annual maintenance and annual refresher training. So all these things play an important role. And these are the fundamental topics for me to come up with a correct quotation. But there is more than that is really price relevant. It can double the price of the whole project, and this will be a big surprise for the homeowner. But later, when it comes to the finalization of the project, not before. Once he has signed a contract with a supplier, the supplier might reveal these price increases slice by slice, and the homeowner cannot refuse it anymore. He has signed the contract already, the work has started. And the supplier will say, "Hey, you did not ask. You did not want an engineering assessment. You did not want to discuss your project with me. You wanted a price. I gave you a price. I gave you exactly what you asked for. And you signed. Oh, and now you ask me where these price increases are coming from." So I can also understand this third-party supplier. Because sometimes customers don't want to discuss these things. They think flood barriers are just, that is just a piece of butter or piece of bread you purchase, or like a t-shirt or some sport shoes, or but even, when a child is playing a guitar and you want to purchase a guitar for your child, let's say 10-year-old child, then you can be a good guitar player. Huh? So, and then you also distinguish. You also don't go to a shop and you buy the next guitar laying around, and then suddenly you realize, oh, you need a plaque, you need a belt, you need spare parts for the strings. What else? You need something to polish the guitar. You need a bag. Oh, and then perhaps you want to play in a band, so you need an amplifier. Or you want to sing, so you need a microphone. Oh, you need a microphone stand. You need something. If you play with, I'm really old-fashioned. So when I made music, we made cover music. So later on, when I was very young, I made my own music. But later on, we played other popular pop and rock songs, and then we had a huge songbook with all these songs because there were so many, and we could not memorize them because that was a hobby. We did not do that professionally, and then you need a stand for that for the small booklet. And nowadays, the musicians, the young guys, they have an iPad in front of them. So what you need is a stand for this iPad as well. Why do I tell you all these things about musicians? Because you don't think about it. You just think about one guitar. That is correct, unless you have an intention to do something special. To check out whether your 10-year-old son really likes to play music, it's okay to buy him first a guitar until the first string has broke, and he is complaining and suddenly not playing anymore. And you wonder, why is my son not playing the guitar anymore? Because his one string broke and there's no replacement. There's no spare part, no spare string. Then of course you have to purchase it. So these are the consequences, and once the barriers are purchased in flood protection, sudden technical obstacles arise, questions arise, construction must be revised, construction work is on the game plan, delays are inevitable and pretty certain, and all in all, time is money, and that is more true than ever. So when I explained these things, Anthony became very interested. He said, hey, because he had a bad experience with another supplier, he listened to what we said to him. And of course, he wanted to get a quick price estimate to avoid being shocked again. I told Anthony, look, I give you a price estimate for the barriers, but excluding the rest. And I tell you that there is a rest. I don't tell you that is your price and I hide it, because I'm hoping that you are blinded by the low price and then you sign a contract. No, I don't work like that. I'm a German engineer, and I mean that is my honor. That is I'm convinced to do something good about it, and that's my advocacy. So we mention it always, and I will mention it to you as well, Anthony. So we continue to talk, and then we develop together what you will need. That's what I told him. And this is like you plan a new house, right? You discuss with your architect first, and you always ask him, how much does it cost? Of course, you want to know. Perhaps there are some of you who are listening right now who built a house. So how did it start? First, there was a wish. Hey, let's build a house. Great. Okay, then what next? Then you look perhaps, what's the price for these these ready to use, ready to live in houses? Then you have an idea. So, expensive, 200,000, 300,000 euro, 500,000. I talk about German prices. Don't be shocked in the Philippines or in Vietnam or in Indonesia when you listen to that. And we have a heating system in wintertime, so that is more expensive than the cooling system in these Southeast Asian countries or in the Middle East, where electricity doesn't cost anything. So then you will go sooner or later to an architect, and you will discuss the plan you have, and the architect will ask you questions. But he will just give you an estimation at the beginning, and then you have to pay him for his design. That means you cannot ask him 1,000 questions and expect that he's answering to everything. Then I always say, if you want to know all these things, go back to university and study it. That will be the answer of the architect. And once you have given him an order, then he will start designing something. So he's making a plan. Perhaps he is telling you, look, I will make 2 revisions for you. Don't tell me every week that you want something else and then I have to change my plan again. So that is limited. So that means you also have to pay for that. And that is similar to flood protection. At this moment, you don't get any detailed planning. You only get price estimates. And that is something what is done normally more in detail in what we call engineering assessment. That is not necessary for all private house owner projects, but the discussion can be shortened. Yeah, that can be done with a house owner. For industrial buildings, for instance, or lots, premises, we always go through an engineering assessment. Yeah. So, but that is another story. I'll tell you another time. So that was the first introduction with Anthony, at least that he could see and could understand why he was shocked about this price, what suddenly tripled. And my golden nugget for you for today is, I thought it's a good idea to give you a golden nugget, isn't it? So plan the flood protection project like you would plan the construction of a new house. Start with a foundation and finish with a roof and everything that is inside, like electricity, windows, doors, water pipes, and the like. And in the next episode, if you like, you will hear what Anthony did and how he reacted when he realized how he can reduce the project price. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering. German quality. Safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.